Lizard venom just created a $600 billion industry, and I know that sounds insane. So let me show you the scale of what's happening right now. 23% of American households have someone using a drug made from this venom. That's nearly 1 in 4 households in America, and by 2030, this number will climb up to 35%. And here's why I started looking into this. I kept seeing these drugs everywhere. News, social media, people I know, and the numbers kept getting crazier. So I needed to understand what is this thing actually doing, because it is not just helping people lose weight, it is killing something much bigger. Willpower. The fight in your head about food, it just stopped.
Ozempic.
Ozempic's being used by the rich and famous.
I did basic science. I really had no idea where this would lead.
Okay, so to understand how we got here, we need to go back in time in Arizona, 1990. There's a scientist called John Eng, and he was studying Gila monster venom to try and find diabetes treatments. And he finds this molecule in the venom, GLP-1. And what it does is it tells your brain that we are full, stop eating. It is basically a hunger off switch. The pharmaceutical company Novo Nordisk in Denmark, they licensed this discovery in 1992, and then they spent 20 years trying to turn into a drug that is safe for humans. And finally, in 2017, the FDA approves it for type 2 diabetes. They called it Ozempic.
Type 2 diabetes? Discover the Ozempic Trizone.
It works amazingly well for diabetic blood sugar as it stabilizes it. But then doctors started noticing that people are also losing weight. Not they were trying to, but it was just like that their patients were not feeling hungry anymore. So Novo Nordisk goes back to the FDA in 2021 and gets approval for a higher dosage specifically for weight loss. And they called it Wegovy and priced it at $1,300 a month. And then I looked at what happened to this company's stock. In 2017, when Ozempic launched, Novo Nordisk was worth $140 billion. By 2024, $600 billion. They became one of the most valuable company in all of Europe. So that's how 20 years of development turned lizard venom into the most profitable drug of the decade. I started researching how this thing works, and I kept seeing this term that pops up called food noise. At first, I didn't really get what that meant, but it's this consistent voice in your head about food that I shouldn't eat that, or just one more, or why did I eat that? You are calculating calories, planning your next meal, and feeling guilty about the last one all day, every day. And here's what it didn't know. People who live with this thing that everyone has this voice, but they don't. In fact, some brains are really quiet about food. So I looked into what causes the difference. And it comes down to this concept called the hunger circuit in your brain. When you eat, your gut is supposed to send a signal to your brain that you are full, shut it down. And for some people, that signal works and the noise stops. But for millions of people, that signal is weak, or in fact, it doesn't last, so the noise never stops. And this drug, it's a chemical copy of we are full signal, but it's there for 24/7 and the circuit says permanently off. So what does that mean? You don't feel hungry anymore. And I spent time reading through Reddit posts from people on these drugs, and the way they described it completely stopped me and started questioning about this drug from a different perspective. They said that the mental silence is a real miracle. I have my brain back. I didn't realize how much space food took up in my head until it was gone. They are not talking about losing weight. They are talking about their brain finally shutting up. And that's when I realized that this drug doesn't make willpower easy. It removes the fight completely, because you can't battle desire that doesn't exist. If this drug is making willpower obsolete, what happens to people who build their entire career on willpower? I started looking into the reactions, and honestly, people are really furious. Let me show you 2 wars that are happening right now, and you will start understanding the hypocrisy of all of this. Let's first start at the gym. The gym world. So Jillian Michaels, you know her from The Biggest Loser trainer. She made millions of dollars telling people to try harder. And now there's the drug that makes everything, or let's say that makes trying irrelevant. She hosted this whole podcast debate with obesity doctors. And she said that people on the drugs are going to end up with fucked up hormone imbalance and lost muscle. And I was like, okay, so is she just being dramatic, or she is actually onto something? She is kind of right about all of the muscle thing. Studies show that up to 40% of weight loss on these drugs can be lean muscles, and your body is literally eating to lose weight.
These drugs can be really great if you're using them for weight loss. The challenge is that because of how they work, you're going to actually not just lose fat, you're actually going to lose muscle, which is going to leave you weaker and frailer.
So the gyms realize this, that okay, people are taking these drugs and they are losing muscles. They found an excellent opportunity. Equinox, one of the most luxurious gyms, now offers these GLP-1 protocols, special training programs to preserve muscle while on the drug, and it costs $3,200 for 12 weeks. So the drug creates a problem and the gym sells you a great solution. But here's where I found this hypocrisy getting real. There's this casual study where they analyzed 12,000 bodybuilding forum posts, and it turns out that competitive bodybuilders are also secretly taking these drugs, not to lose weight, but to get shredded for competitions. They are stacking GLP-1s with anabolic steroids. And here's the thing from a top coach, Stefan. Ozempic has no place in competitive bodybuilding. But when you look under the hood and you start investigating the forums, his athletes are discussing their GLP-1 use. So, publicly it is cheating, but privately everyone is doing. And this is the first hypocrisy we talked about. Now, let's go into the next one. The body positivity movement. For almost 10 years, this movement has been fighting to demedicalize the fatness, to say that this isn't a disease and this is just how some bodies are. And that's beautiful. They built the entire communities, went up, did rallies, spoke on multiple podcast shows, and amassed massive following. Then, in June 2021, the FDA approves the Wegovy for weight loss, and I wanted to see what happened to that movement. So, I pulled up Google Trends and by search interested for body positivity. And after June 2021, this drops off dramatically. And it's not just a Google trend, right? The influencers who had built their entire brands on fat acceptance started going silent, like months with no post, and then they'd come back visibly smaller. And I was like, that's hypocrisy in itself, right? You preach self-love for years, and then you build up movement around it, and then you secretly take the drug and lie about it. And let me give you a specific example, because these are two real people. Ella Halikas, her doctor recommended Ozempic for PCOS, which is a medical condition. And she said, it does feel sometimes when you do things for your health. It can feel like a betrayal to your community. She turned down the medication. The community pressure was too real for her. On the other hand, we have Rosie Beam, and she took Mounjaro and posted about it honestly, and the backlash was immediate and also brutal. She wrote back that eventually, I noticed what if anyone wanted to lose weight for health, personal desire, or any other perceptions, they were met with swift and cruel feedback. This to me feels unhealthy and, dare I say, culty. But then I found something even darker. Pharmaceutical companies were targeting these activists directly. Virgie Tover, one of the biggest fat acceptance voices, she revealed that pharma companies are offering her free Ozempic multiple times throughout 23 and 24. She posted on Instagram holding a sign that says, I don't want Ozempic, and wrote, I don't cover weight loss, I cover weight discrimination. That's where it starts to feel a little bit like targeting. Think about it, that corporate strategy for a second. Find the person most vocally opposed to the drug, offer it to them for free, and try to flip them. That's the biggest change, and that's the real hypocrisy.
They came after us. They brought the fight to my doorstep, to our doorstep. They could have fought clean, but they chose to fight dirty.
But Leaving the hypocrisy aside, I also wanted to understand who can actually afford these drugs. And it turns out there is a study already. People making over $100,000 a year, 78% of them can get access to this. But people making under $30,000, only 12%. And a psychologist writing in the Psychology Today published this in February 2025. And I'm going to read it because it captures everything beautifully. If you can afford it, you should lose weight. And if you can't, love yourself as you are. So, that's who's furious. The gym world that built everything on willpower, the body positivity movement that built everything on self-love, and both of them fractured by the same molecule from this lizard venom. But that made me to start asking some more things. I started digging into the actual casualties, the real people getting hurt while everyone else fights. In March 2024, Oprah hosted this huge primetime ABC special on these drugs for 42 minutes. Representatives from Novo Nordisk, Eli were on the set talking about how amazing these drugs are. And 6 months later, on September 2025, the FDA issued warning letters to both companies. And they are not playing games around it. They call the broadcast misleading. The FDA doesn't usually do that, but it had to be done. So I started asking, what are these risks that the FDA was trying to highlight? And I found that FDA's safety report on the compounded versions, 100 hospitalization, approximately 10 deaths, dosing errors, some products that labeled as containing semaglutide had 0. They were selling fake drugs altogether. Then there's the mental health stuff. And I found this warning on SunCloud Health, and it said that GLP-1 medication may have significant risk for people with current or past eating disorders. They can worsen malnourishment and affect mental health negatively. And doctors who prescribe these drugs have noted that depression can emerge after weight loss. You lose the weight and you get the body you wanted, and then you feel nothing, just emptiness.
Ozempic and Mounjaro are leading to mood changes and depression in what's been dubbed Ozempic personality. Some users complain they don't feel like themselves, their joy dulled.
I used to be a really positive, bubbly, like sunshine person, and over the last year and a half, I've kind of lost that.
And there's this cosmetic issues also. Ozempic face, rapid weight loss strips volume from your face. So you will have sunken cheeks, hollow eyes, sagging skin. The American Academy of Facial, Plastic and Reconstruction Surgeons reported 50% increase in facial fat grafting surgeries in 2024. And 1 in 10 of their members now prescribe the weight loss drugs directly to patients. So they create the problem and then they sell you a solution. But here's who's really getting screwed. Type 2 diabetics. It's the same people for whom this drug was actually designed for. They face a nearly 3-year shortage while celebrities were on talk shows discussing cosmetic weight loss. Diabetics were rationing their medication to stay alive. And when I looked at what's happening with the insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan reported $1.1 billion in GLP-1 claims in 2024 alone. That's 29% increase from 2023. So, starting January 1st, 2026, literally a few weeks before, major insurers including Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, and United Healthcare are restricting coverage to type 2 diabetics only. California Medi-Cal is cutting weight loss only coverage for 660,000 patients.
Adam, while Ozempic is designed for those with type 2 diabetes, a local pharmacist tells us he's seeing an influx of those patients coming in to the pharmacy who are unable to find that drug elsewhere for its intended use.
But then I found something that made me completely rethink what this drug truly is. I mean, think about it. What if it kills all your desire and not just fat? I came across this study from Loyola University Chicago, and it shows that GLP-1 users with opioid use disorder experience a 40% lower rate of opioid overdose. People with alcohol use disorder, 50% reduction in alcohol intoxication. And then I'm reading through Reddit again, and people aren't posting things that is weird. They are saying that they got prescribed Ozempic, but their gambling stopped. Another person said Wegovy seems to curb their shopping disorder, and they're not buying random things anymore. A molecule from Gila monster venom that was supposed to treat diabetics is now what? A desire killer for everything? What else becomes optional? Where does this stop and where is the line? And in 2026, it's about to get even easier because both Novo Nordisk and Eli are rolling out oral pill versions. No more weekly injections, no needles, no stigma, just a pill you take with your morning coffee. Which brings me to the question I know you are asking. Look, you are probably wondering, should I take this drug? And honestly, I don't have an answer for you, but here's what you need to think before you do. We build this world that's engineered to overwhelm your biology. Food scientists literally optimize sugar, salt, fat ratios to hijack your brain's reward system. Then we design cities where you have to drive everywhere. We created an economy where sitting at a desk for 8 hours is what success looks like. And we bombarded you with food ads every 3 minutes. And then we turned around and told you that failing to resist all of this was a moral failure. If you are fat, you are weak. You lack discipline and you need to try harder. Now, here's the drug. Made from lizard venom. $1,300 a month, and it doesn't fix the game we built. It just helps you to pass the test. So what do you gain? Real freedom from constant voices in your head? Mental silence? Or people call it getting their brain back. That's not nothing. But what do you lose? Dependency on a drug forever. Because if you stop taking it, the weight comes back. The side effects we're still learning about, and the cost if your insurance won't cover it. Because if desire can just be chemically switched off, what happens to you as a person? Is fighting temptation what makes us human? Or is that just unnecessary suffering that we can finally eliminate? I genuinely don't know, but that's the choice in front of you. So finally, the answer to the question, is willpower dead? For me, willpower doesn't seem to be dead, but it does seem like optional. And look at what has happened. One molecule from Gila monster venom turned into a $600 billion industry, but the same molecule killed the gym world's elite moral framework about earned bodies, and it fractured the body positivity movement along class lines. It forced diabetics to ration their medication for 3 years, and now we are finding out it might be killing all your desires, not just hunger. This isn't some fringe experiment. This is real, and this is happening right now. And maybe the question isn't whether taking this drug is cheating. Maybe the real question is, why did we build a world when your own body became the enemy you have to defeat every single day just to be considered acceptable? Because a molecule from a lizard venom is forcing us to ask something we are not ready to answer. What does it mean to be human if desires become optional? And I don't think we are ready to answer that, but we are about to find out pretty soon.